Welcome everybody to the Radio Tekkers YouTube and Twitch, and it just had to be your 5-round boys making the opening contest. Carlos and myself here for 5 rounds. We have just finished watching UFC 264. Carlos, how excited for that event are you?
I'm more excited now than I were actually beginning starting it. I know it's a shit watching it, but excitement, some of the results. We'll get right into it.
Yes, let's. So firstly, we've got the early prelims and the prelims to go through. Zaglas Zumagulov picked up the first round submission against Jerome Rivera. Then we had Brad Tavares picking up the victory decision against Omri Akhmedov. And then the last of the early prelims was Jennifer Mayer getting the decision against Jessica I in a fight that left Jessica I with a third eye.
Horrible. You could literally see a skull.
You actually really could see a skull. That was absolutely disgusting. I got some comments in the chat already. My boy, It's Ray Cash. Did you watch the event, Ray? Let us know what you thought of it. Going into these prelims, we had Trevin Giles losing by KO to Dricus Duplessis. Ilya Topuria getting the comeback knockout against Ryan Hall in what can only be described as a rolling contest.
Yeah, he was doing too many Imanari rolls, trying to get the weird takedown from the outside where you're sort of hooking the leg and then sort of you want to roll on the outside so you can sort of go in between the legs. And you can tell that Ryan Hall is sort of a one-trick pony when it comes to mixed martial arts. And I'm not saying that he's...
but you can also see why nobody wants to fight him.
No, yeah, he's dangerous. He's like the Damian Maia of the lower weight divisions. He's incredible with his technique, his skill, his skill-minded as well. He's, like I say, just the Imanari rolls aren't easy to do. And I think he threw like 4 or 5 out just in the first minute and a half in the first round. So... yeah, but didn't work out for him tonight.
And then we had Michelle Pereira eking out the decision victory against Nico Price. And then we ended the prelims with Max Griffin getting the decision against your boy Carlos Condit.
I sort of feel bad for him. Like Condit, he's always been one of my favourites ever since growing up watching him. Along the lines of Dan Hardy, he had some of the best fights, and he was. Even though Dan Hardy is one of my all-time greatest fighters, probably if not the all-time greatest, Carlos Condit, he's definitely up there. But he's 38 years of age, he's cracking on a bit, and as everyone knows, I don't think it's no secret, mixed martial arts is just moving on so fast. And he's not like who were he fighting?
Max Griffin.
Max Griffin. Fuck yeah, I don't know why I wanted to call him something else. Max Griffin, like we spoke about it whilst we were fighting. It's not like Max Griffin is young guy, but he's 35.
Yeah.
But
only a year difference.
Yeah, but then I said to you, there's a year difference. But why did Carlos Condit look 5-10 years older than Max Griffin?
Because he's been through 20 wars.
Yeah, and that's it. What you reminded me of. Like, I've been watching literally since I was a kid. If you can go back to when he started before the JSP fighting and he got
before that when he was in WEC.
Yeah, so I can't literally ever since I was a kid watching him since he was in his 20s whilst I was a kid growing up, and so yeah, he's top respect to him, but it's not like he took a lot. It's not like he took a hell of a lot of punishment, was it? The way he were like the commentator, like Daniel and them what said, with how many times he sort of if he's fucked his knees up.
That's the issue with him. He's never been the same since he had those Weetabix knees.
Well, that's it. And he's not like one of them fighters where he's starting to get used to check him in that fight. He would rather just sort of going with the kicks rather than trying to, in a way, trying to absorb them a little bit easier rather than take them on full-on impact and cause any damage. And say, guy's 38, you don't want to be... You also be walking around on crutches and that like 38. You don't want to be doing that.
Exactly.
It's fucking pain in the arse.
We've got Radio Tekkers cohort, Mr. Tanner Pruitt in the chat. Hello, hey, Tanner. And for everybody watching along and get your comments in, tell us what you thought about the fights, tell us what you thought about the event. We'll start with the opener. Walmart's very own version of Conor McGregor, Sean O'Malley taking on Chris Moutinho. And if these two didn't set the standard for the event, then something is truly wrong, because this was a cracking fight. I don't think that Sean O'Malley comes out of it looking good at all. I mean, to be fair, he broke the record for the amount of strikes landed by a single person in the fight, but he couldn't finish somebody who this time in June was shifting paint cans around a factory. He couldn't beat this guy. What a chin Chris Moutinho has. He comes out of this looking absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm not a big Sean O'Malley fan. We all know that from the times we spoke about him here on 5 rounds. But one thing he's good at is those laser accurate shots. I mean, this is a guy who got 80% of 280 shots in. That's ridiculous numbers, absolutely ridiculous numbers. But I've got to give all props in this fight. I mean, there's no point really breaking it down round by round. I mean, the only kind of significant thing that happened in the first round was the knockdown. Other than that, this was 3 rounds of Moutinho doing the Justin Gaethje special of just going forward, not moving his head, taking shot after shot after shot, but then landing some really good shots of his own. I mean, there were points in the fight where it looked like O'Malley was rocked by this kid. He certainly should be getting another fight out of it. But Sean O'Malley, if you cannot finish somebody taking a fight on 10 days' notice after they were drinking paint, like not a month ago, there is holes in your game, sir, and you need to work on them before thinking that you're a big time star. But he picked up the victory, broke the record for the amount of shots, and well, what more is it to say?
Well, to be honest with you, obviously, like you were saying, he broke the record of the more shots landed, the highest accuracy. You've got to give him that, fair enough. Yeah. All props. His performance was spectacular. It was throwing off double jabs, triple jabs, 1-2s, hooks when he wanted, and throwing them clean. He was trying to embarrass his opponent. He was trying to show that, listen, this is what I'm good at. Why is he in here with me? But I applaud him. I don't like Sean O'Malley at the best of times, but I applaud him for at the end of it, when he basically stood up and said, that guy's got some bollocks. He's fucking tough. Whilst everyone else is ducking me, he knows he's a loudmouth, but whilst everybody else is not accepted to fight him, which is true, no one's accepted to fight him. I know he's having all that shit with hair and that, and I'll hold my hands up, I'll give him my fair share of calling him a bit of a bitch for the stuff he's done, but no one wants to fight him. And this kid who I want to, after when I've finished this and when I'm going to watch the press conference, but you want to watch ours first, Radio Tekkers, do network, subscribe to YouTube. You want to do that, I promise you. But yeah, after this, I'm definitely going to go and watch some of these guys' fights, because I don't know where he's come from. I literally know he worked in a paint factory a month ago. A month later, he's fighting on a McGregor card, opening a McGregor card. Yeah. You can't ask for much more. And the way he was fighting, like you said, he looked like how Justin Gaethje first came in to the UFC, and then as he was working with Trevor Whitman over time, his
head movement.
Yeah, he developed head movement. His striking got a little bit more cleaner. He wasn't just, even though he's like this kid, he's got the cardio, he's got that pace. He will keep pressuring you forward. That's why Sean O'Malley is generally like one of these fighters, Israel Adesanya, your Conor McGregor's. They want that space so they can sort of move. They want to be the ones pushing you forward. They're going to be the ones controlling the octagon and pushing you up against the cage. This kid didn't let O'Malley do any of that. This kid was in O'Malley's face. Fair enough, he was taking shots. It was in his face the whole round. So, yeah, getting onto that, this kid's got heart. I want to talk about the stoppage from Perdine. When I spoke to my friend, and when I put it on, I put on my Facebook, this is a bullshit stoppage at this time. And my friend put on, no, he was done. He was going to go out in that last 30 seconds. This is my opinion. I don't think he was. Sean O'Malley had 14 minutes and 30 seconds to finish this man, and he could not finish him. He put him down in the first. He wasn't able to finish him. In the second, he hit him with 2 knees, clean, flush knees. The knees didn't do anything. Head kicks, 3 or 4 clean head kicks. The head kicks didn't do anything. It wasn't going to finish him in that last 30 seconds. if I'm here in front of you with my hands up, I'm still in that fight with you. If that ref stops the fight, I'm pissed off.
The fact is, he could have finished him in that 30 seconds, but when Herb Dean jumped in to stop it, it wasn't finished.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't.
Chris Moutinho was still throwing shots back. He was still, I don't want to say actively defending because his way of defending was
though. But this is what I said to my mate. How he was like, he was done it, like he wasn't. And regardless of whatever happened in that last 30 seconds, his hands were still up here. Doesn't matter if one was here, one was here, one was here. It wasn't down here. It wasn't over here. It was up here, and he was going forward. Mm-hmm. To me, as a referee, now I don't know what Herb Dean saw. I don't want to shit on him too much because he's a legend referee. But since he had that fuck up with Dan Hardy, he's somewhat seemed to come down a bit downhill. The spotlight's gone on him now. He's a bit more famous. He's not just a referee anymore. He's Herb Dean. He's got a name for himself. He's getting a bit more. He's just making a couple of mistakes. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have never have done like that fight. A lot of people might say I'm wrong because he's like, oh, he's just saving the fighter getting head trauma. That fighter was in there for a reason. We were working in a paint factory a month ago. This fight changed his fucking life. Mm-hmm. It's changed his life forever. It's
very likely he'll get a $75,000 win bonus.
And he will
performance bonus from that.
Yeah, and he will definitely get a contract out of that. The reason I'm so pissed off about it is because if I was in that, if that is literally my dream to fight in the UFC, and if Herb Dean did that to me, I wouldn't have been as calm as I would have been fucking raging. The fact is, I had my hands up. Don't mind if I'm getting smacked in the face. It's what I signed that fucking contract for. I'm getting smacked in. I know the dangers of it. If I've got my hands up going forward, I'm intelligently defending myself. I'm still in that fucking fight. Don't stop the fight. Oh, I'm getting fucking well. Herb Dean, you're a prick for stopping that fight when he did. But yeah, that kid has got all heart, honestly. Dana White needs to give him a bonus, give him a contract, give him a fucking house, sort his life out, help him out.
Yeah, we've got some plenty of comments in the chat. Ray saying some people have just got concrete chins. Yeah, absolutely. But if you are the star that Sean O'Malley claims that he is, that he's technically unbeaten, and you can't beat someone who's coming in off 10 days' notice, who's never fought at that level ever before, then these questions need to be asked.
Well, that's why I'm speaking so highly about this guy who's come in and just put on a show against O'Malley, because I know how good O'Malley is. Fair enough, he might be ranked 23 and he might be low down. He's been in the UFC a long time. There's also a reason why he's not getting on these big name fights. Now, if you've been watching UFC or mixed martial arts for a long time, which I have, he's in the UFC. He's on a different. If he was in these regional shows, he'd smash everybody. Yeah. But he's in the UFC. He's on the biggest stage of them all. There's a reason why he's struggling to get into that top 15. And yeah, fair enough. I just said about people struggling, people not wanting to fight him in where he is now. But that's people around his actual category. But if he's fighting like this, with a guy who's just come in, who's got relatively no head movement, he didn't really have no knockout power. With his power comes from his position, like McGregor's. But when you get up into them top 15s, top 10s, top 5s, you will get quickly exposed. Mm-hmm. McGregor, look at how far. It only lasts so long. When you change your game, nothing works. Like will go on in the main event. But you always have to keep evolving your game. And if you keep stuck in the mud, you're going to get bypassed so fast by these other fighters. And especially like this kid he's got some work to do. Again, I'm back on him. He's proper impressed me. Mm-hmm. He's got some work to do with his head movement and throwing his hooks off. And actually, it's not just following his opponent now, actually cutting him off. But other than that, he's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Matt JC in the chat saying, "What's up, boys? Good card overall. Let's get O'Malley a title shot." Thanks for the props, Matt. But it's a hard pass for me on O'Malley getting that title shot.
It's a long road
for 3 to 4 fights minimum for me before he gets there.
He's not nowhere near the top.
He needs to at least fight a top 15, then a top 10, then a top 5.
Well, that's it. Well, his last good performance was against Eddie Wyman when he faked the uppercut and then followed it with a cross. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's sort of been. He's been in the press and been in the media for. I want to say. You could put it down to the wrong reason.
He's a salesman. That's what it is. He's good at selling himself as a character. But when you get to the likes of the level of Marlon Vera, the likes of Dvashvili, for instance, Pedro Munoz, selling your character is totally different to getting an ass whipping from the levels of those fighters. So, I mean, it was good that he called out Rob Font. I thought that's a good, brilliant move. I don't believe that. I don't think it'll happen. I mean, Rob Font's at like 4. Rob Font's looking at the winner of Jan and Sterling. Surely.
See, it could be, but then obviously he called out. Who did he call out? He called out Rob Font. He called out.
He said DC. Dominic Cruz was ducking him. Obviously the Marlon Vera stuff, but he lost to Marlon Vera.
Rerunning back with Marlon Vera because I wanted. We're Sean O'Malley. Like I said, I don't like him because the way he sort of talks but doesn't back it up, and then all that excuses with the ankle or mentally undefeated. Just chuck all that out. What the fuck? You're sounding this. If you were in front of me, I'd call you a moron just for what you just said to me. You're mentally undefeated. What the fuck does that even mean? You're mentally undefeated. You've been beat. Take it on chin. It's an L on your record. So fucking what?
You learn from it.
You learn from it. But yeah, that's why I sort of lost a little bit of respect for O'Malley. But with him being striking like that, no one can say he's a shit striker. He's on point with his jabs, with his striking. And as well with him being such a long reach as well. You don't see a lot of fighters using that jab a lot, and he used it in this fight effectively, perfectly to his advantage. And if he can just put a little bit more power behind his shots, get a little bit more muscle behind him, because he's already a big guy for that weight anyway. It's like I said, he's a tall guy, he's a long reach, and he's still got, how old is he? Like I'd say 20 odd.
I think he's 23, Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, so he's still got growing to do. He's still got bulking out to do. So there's still plenty of time for him to make his way up into that title shot. But I just don't want him to fall into that trap of I'm another heart train again. Because that's what got him in the shit with Marlon Vera in the first place.
Yeah. So after that, let's go into the first of 3 first round finishers. Irene Aldana versus Yana Kunitskaya. And this was actually, for the 4.5 minutes that it went, this was actually not a bad fight. Kunitskaya clearly has kind of learned from her time in the UFC, really tried to start pushing the pace, landing axe kicks and mixing up the jabs and the hooks, but she's going up against a boxer. And Aldana threw very little in this fight, but every single shot did damage. The first shot that she threw essentially broke Kunitskaya's face, and then she started bleeding all over. Kunitskaya was still really pushing the pace, going for the clinchers, landing knees, and then Aldana just landed a left hook, which just drops Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya then was essentially on the ground. Aldana was just trying to slip past, control the legs, land the shots. She kind of like Kunitskaya did the wrong thing, trying to turn the wrong way. Ended up being essentially on a side, just taking shot after shot after shot. And referee Jason Herzog, with about 20 seconds to go, called the fight off. And Irene Aldana, even though she weighed 4.5 pounds over in the weigh-in, comes out with the victory.
Well, that's it. I can say Aldana, even though she missed weight, she, fair enough, it's a poor do. You're a professional. Mm-hmm. You should, you can't even use COVID as an excuse now because everything's somewhat back to normal. You've got the training facility, the PR. Something must have went wrong. Nothing's always easy. But again, you're a professional, and not only that, but she has won as well, so it's an added. I suppose it's a bonus for her. She hasn't lost all of her money, and then obviously I can't even say her name. I'm fucking it up. Kuljana. Am I saying that right? Kunitskaya. Oh, I've mixed the 2 names up. But Kunitskaya, you can just tell where she just couldn't deal with the added weight that her opponent had. With her having to sort of deal with her opponent missing weight by the 4.5 pounds as it was, and then getting after hydrated, she probably put on an extra 5, maybe 10 pounds along with that. So, and you could see it in them both when they were saying Kuljana was trying to be aggressive, showing out basically the war cries that you hear, the war songs. But that's all it was. It was just war songs. It was doing nothing. And when you're against a boxer who's that's their main.
They've heard it before.
Yeah. They're not scared of it. What they're looking for is for you to throw one of these wild kicks with a hook, and then they're going to tag you. And that's exactly what Joanna did. She was able to just set up that hook perfectly. And again, boxing style, it's not like she just threw a full body round like you see a lot of mixed martial artists do. They'll turn their head into it. She just did it traditionally. It was just poof.
Yeah.
And it was just a perfect on the button. And that's
the pace was there, the speed, the accuracy, everything that it needed to drop Yana.
Yes, and she's one of them fighters that she's scarily good on the feet. And if you can't get in close to her and pin her up against the fence or put her on her back, you've generally got an hard fight. But we haven't seen fighters do that to her, because when we've seen fighters get close to her, they've been cracked. That's how good and how fast her hand speed is, and how good her counter boxing is, where they generally can't get her up against the cage. And as well, even though she's generally a boxer, she uses her elbows really well. She's one of the women who's got longer extremities, so it makes it easy for her to use her elbows, like John Bones Jones was, where he grabs the wrist and he'll just snap an elbow in. She's got the reach for that sort of stuff, so she's brilliant. And then obviously as well with the hook, the reach added extra was perfect, because she was able to lean out the way as she was able to throw it, so she was able to protect herself whilst catching her opponent, and that was just game over for that fight. And as soon as you could see that land, it was just over. But you want to go to, I'm just going to call her Santos' wife, because I remember Santos' name. She reminded me of fighting too much like in a way like Santos did with Bones. You know, like where he was sort of just being aggressive, and then Bones eventually just blew his knees out. He ended up taking it to decision, but that's what it seemed like in this fight. His wife was just seeming to be aggressive, just trying to throw front kicks, and just the traditional 1-2, just to basically try and intimidate her and slow her down. And it just didn't work. Her opponent just was patient and just waited for that opening. As soon as that opening came, she struck like a fucking cobra, and that were it. It was game over.
Yeah. Then came the middle fight, and the fact that this fight was either going to make our day, or it was going to ruin us and put us in a bad mood.
Well, let me just put it this way. So just to show you what mood we're in, Greg Hardy, I've just got that shows, and hang on a minute, that shows as well, you prick.
So we had Greg Hardy versus Tar Travassa. And again, this was a first round finish, and it was glorious. I mean, Greg Hardy started quite aggressive, landed an early jab. He actually landed quite a few times, and there was a point where we thought the worst was going to come when he landed the big right, and we saw Tar Travassa stagger.
Yeah, a little bit nervous, just a little bit.
And then Hardy was looking like he was ready to essentially pounce and finish the fight. And then Tar Travassa just that big left. It lands perfectly on the eye of Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy went down. The eye swelled up before he hit the ground. A couple of follow-up shots, and it was all over. Tar Travassa became the biggest star in the UFC heavyweight division. Drunk at least 5-6 shoeys, one with hot sauce, one that was poured from the crowd at the top of the entrance. The guy's an absolute star.
Then one
everybody loves him.
Customized shoe as well.
Yeah,
it fucking looked like a proper nice Air Force One as well. And that hurt my heart.
Yeah, but brilliant result. I'm so glad. I hope that this is the end of the Greg Hardy experiment.
No, I want to see him one last time, just to see him getting knocked out again, because that was too fun.
It was so fun.
I'm glad he got knocked out. I hope his orbital bone's fucked. I hope his retina's fucked, and I hope now he knows what he feels like for smacking his fucking wife up the prick. Because now he knows that Tar Travassa is not the guy to bang with, because he'll make you feel like your wife after when you smack.
Mark Gacy in the chat, Greg Hardy took a nap in there, lol.
And took more than a nap.
Came out to a Spice Girls song. That's a man. I mean, that, to be fair,
Tar
Travassa, that was brilliant marketing though, because coming out to a Spice Girls song, he knew that there were Conor McGregor fans rather than MMA fans in the crowd. He knew there were a lot of big stars, a lot of people who maybe don't really watch MMA. but he got every woman in that crowd up dancing. The guy's an absolute star. He's an absolute star.
He's a natural born entertainer. He's not smacking somebody's mouth.
And then
he's having a fucking shoot.
And then his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan.
He wants to try and bang with me. I'm not the correct fella you bang with. Pick somebody else.
Brilliant. But yeah, I absolutely love that. And then we got the cool down. And Carlos, this is more in your wheelhouse, so I'll let you go over this one. Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. We get the 29-28 across the board for Gilbert Burns. But what did you think of this fight?
This fight was very obviously traditional. If you've watched UFC,
it got a lot of boos.
Yeah, it got a lot of boos because, again, like you just said, there were a lot of Conor McGregor fans, a lot of people who haven't got really a fucking clue of what they're looking at or what they're talking about. And in this fight, if you were to go back to even UFC 1, going back to UFC 10, you will see how UFC formed from getting someone who's karate, getting someone who's a BJJ.
Open weight.
Putting them together. Who's the best? Who's going to win? Who is the best? Who's got the best fighting style?
You're talking about a company that had tournaments in one night where some fighters had to fight 3-4 times a night.
Exactly. And people who Gilbert Burns look up to, like Royce Gray said, he was the one in these tournaments. And that's what it were. You had the karate hotter in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and obviously representing the karate side, and then you've got Gilbert Burns, who's just the most phenomenal Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert in the UFC to date. Not only is he still competing in the UFC, he still goes out of his way to compete in Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments whilst in his spare time. I do apologise off the top of my head, but the basically he's massive in the gi and no gi Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments. And Gilbert Burns not long had a grapple with him. And Gilbert Burns actually won that grapple. That's how good he is. So when we look at this fight, you've also got to look at how Wonderboy wants to keep it on the feet, doesn't want to go to the ground, and how Gilbert Burns doesn't want to keep on the feet. He wants to go to the ground, because both of them are world champions, multiple-time world champions in both of their areas of combat. And when you put them two together, it's only one thing that's going to happen. And with it being modern mixed martial arts, you had Stephen Thompson, who was trying to defend the takedown early in the first round by Gilbert Burns, and it was a perfect game plan. Take him down early, make the stand-up fighter worry about them takedowns. It helps you open up with your hands, but then you can still take him down at any point, because then they're worried, hang on a minute, is he going to come up top? Is he going to go down low? What's he going to do? But Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is still one of them fighters who you've got to look at and go, shit, even though I've put him in this predicament where I've got to go, he's still super fast and accurate reading me. So even if I'm not sharp at going down and going up, I'm taking a front side kick to the face, and you don't see it going, because with traditional karate, it's usually fast moving and push forward, and that's why you see with Stephen Wonderboy with his front kick, he lifted it up to the chest and then lifted it up again and went for the head, and that's all what that connected movement is. It's designed for when you're on your back foot like Gilbert Burns. It's designed, that front one is not to generally to touch it, so it's to reach you. It's the second one that follows through that gets you while you're moving back. And that's how traditional karate fight, you go back to Lyoto Machida, they're fast, absolutely fast paced. One of the best things I can sort of put it into context is when Vita Belfort knocked out basically Tito Ortiz, and he would just followed him over the cage, and
Blitzkrieg.
Literally, that's it. And that's generally what a karate background is, where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a lot more, in this day and age, submission, position over submission. And you don't want Stephen Wonderboy Thompson getting back to his feet. Again, he's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, look at that I think it was in the second round where he essentially, Gilbert Burns essentially wrapped himself around one of Stephen Thompson's legs, knowing that the other one was free to try and help stand up. But as long as he kept that leg stretched out, it stopped Stephen from being able to stand up, and it was brilliantly worked by Gilbert Burns.
It was a brilliant game plan. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, unfortunately, didn't have the time to work what he needed to do for his game plan, so it didn't work for him. But Gilbert Burns had the correct game plan. Everyone was booing him because, again, they didn't know what he was doing. You've got to put yourself in his shoes. You've got a multiple-time karate world champion, and your fighting style is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
But not only that, though, Carlos. is a fighter that nobody else or very few people are able to understand how good he is. There's literally fight camps out there dedicated to trying to break down Stephen Thompson's his fighting style, and it just doesn't happen. People can't beat this guy.
You can't. There's only certain fighters. You've got Raymond Daniels, who's probably outside of the UFC, even inside the UFC. It's just that altogether, you've probably got Raymond Daniels, who's the only one off the top of my head
who knows how to break down a Stephen Thompson fight.
Yeah, who knows not necessarily how to break down, but knows how to imitate him when you're sparring. So knows how to move exactly like how Wonderboy used to get you prepared for the fight. So he's one of the fighters who's very hard to prepare for, and you don't know what to expect. So when you're Gilbert Burns, you don't stand and fight with this, because Gilbert Burns, he took some shots that he didn't like. He got rocked, and he knows, hang on a minute, shit, what am I doing? I need to go back to basics. So when he was going in for the double leg, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was takedown defense was too good for the double leg. So that's why I had to switch it for the single leg and pull him round and make him walk for it to try and take him off his balance. Because when you've got your legs spread out, there's no point. I'm using so much energy to try and drag your hips away from that fence. What's the point? Why not just drag your leg up and then just drag it with me? You're on one leg, because even if you don't go off it, I'm going to step in and I'm going to kick that other leg. You're going to go that. Like DC did all the time as a smaller person, when he used to drag that one leg up, and then he used to basically step in and basically just fucking rag him down. And that's all basically Gilbert Burns was doing, bar from I think it was the third or fourth takedown, where he basically got him and then spun him round like a wrestling takedown in a way. But yeah, Gilbert Burns did the perfect thing where it was just holding him, position over submission, and then working, because you don't want Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to get back to his feet. No. And especially when you're going on in that first round, in that second round, the third round, you're getting sweaty, you're getting slippery. You can't hold on to someone. It's not as easy as it is. You haven't got that you haven't got that friction to hold on with skin to skin when it's dry. Yeah. So you've got to use more strength. You use a lot more strength in keeping that position, which can be tiring. Well, that's it. Imagine if you've let go of the hips for a second, or moved the shoulder from Wonderboy's esophagus. That's going to give him a chance to bridge up and move. Yeah, and we saw that in the leg thing that I was describing. Gilbert Burns gave him a fraction of a second, and Thompson was out, and he was up on his feet from it. And that's it. And when you go for submissions, what do you generally do when you go for submissions? You have to give up these other things that you're doing. So when you're pinning someone down, unless you're going for stuff like a Kimura arm triangle, you generally having to lift up off it. Even when you're going for just an arm bar, when you sort of generally sitting on the chest and manoeuvring, even though Gilbert Burns is that good and he could have done it, you're in a UFC fight, up there, going on verge for another title, even though Kobe's in the mix, up there for another title shot. You don't want to mess your chances up. You don't want to let Wonderboy back to his feet. It was a perfect game plan, executed perfectly, and everyone who booed him, go fuck yourself. It was absolutely bullshit. It was a game plan that anybody who had a brain in mixed martial arts, anybody who was fighting at his level, would have done. Woodley didn't want to fucking stand and bang where Wonderboy wanted to take it up. Everybody who fights with Wonderboy does. I think there's only been one person at the top of my head who's not minded stand and bang with him, and that were Anthony Pettis. Just because on the level, Anthony Pettis with his taekwondo could probably match him standing wise. Other than that, you don't stand with him. Like, you don't go on the ground with Gilbert Burns. You just don't do it. So that's it. Unfortunately, with the 15 minutes, Wonderboy didn't have the time he needed to work. He only had the second round third round at a push. You could probably say that was his. Other than that, Gilbert was taking that fight all the way. Even coming to the end of the second one, when he got that late takedown, even though it didn't look that much, that's still a little bit of a confidence booster going into the third. And then also looks good on the judges' scorecard. Like, fair enough, Wonderboy might have done this damage, so he might have hit him with this, or might have kicked him with this, but he still had the strength, he still had the awareness to get that takedown at the end of the round. So that's what the judges are looking for. And I'll give him all this praise. Do I think it's enough to warrant him basically overstepping Covington, like everyone's saying? If they did something spectacular or got on a performance, did they overstep? Like, I agree with you. I don't think he does. After the performance, he doesn't. He's probably going to have to fight either Leon or who's going to be in line. I'm going to say Leon, because everyone's counting Leon out, and I don't want to do that myself. He's an English lad, and he deserves his fucking like 11 in a row now. So if he's not going to fight for a belt,
there's only really Leon and Colby above him. You could say Masvidal, but
I think Masvidal's going to get. Oh no, wait. To be honest with you, he did say Masvidal. That's a good fight, but
Masvidal said yeah as well.
But does he mean it though? Because
Yeah, no.
he said yeah to a couple of people, and he hasn't signed the contract. And I don't know if he's waiting for the fight. But
He also
also
called out Nate Diaz.
I don't think Nate fights him. For the reason
Nate is now a money fighter.
Yeah, Nate is definitely a money. Nate is getting he's like 34, 35. He
wants those £1 million fights.
Yeah, he's not
$1 million fights. Sorry,
he's not looking for these fights to prove himself or to prove how good he is or basically move up in ranks. He knows what he's worth. He knows his name. So he knows the name value. He knows that the UFC will give him what he asks for. So he's not going to fight someone like Gilbert. And I'm not saying because it's an easy fight for him. It's not. It's a fucking well-hard fight for him. That's the reason he wouldn't take it, because there's no point in him going, yeah, I'll do all this training camp. I'll get my body prepared. I'll basically get prepared for it. When you prepare for Gilbert Burns, you don't know what you're going to do. His stand-up games come on that much in the last couple of years. You don't know if he's going to throw a couple of takedowns. Like, you don't know if he's going to try and stand up with you. So you've got to get trained for everything. And Nate, he's getting into that age. And like you say, he's still a fighter, but he's at that business point where he doesn't have to fight people like Gilbert Burns. He can say, what happened at main event when everything's sorted out. Yeah, let's sort that out.
He'll dance between divisions to pick up, to get fights that make him $1 million plus per fight. So I think it's more likely that it's going to be Leon Edwards.
I'd say so. Off the top, I'd hope it's Leon Edwards, just because he deserves. Unless they've said to Leon behind the scenes, listen, keep ready just in case anything happens to Colby or Usman. Other than that, if he doesn't fight Leon, in fact, I'm going to probably say it now. If he doesn't fight Leon, that's actually probably what's actually happened, because Leon's been quiet for the last couple of weeks on all of his social media, even on his personal stuff. So I reckon he's been told that, but I won't say any more on that.
Yeah.
But I reckon Gilbert either fights, either gets offered Masvidal, or he might even get offered someone lower down who's moving up in the ranks. Because again, it's not like that title's on the card for him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's get into the fact that everybody, or 99% of people who were watching this card, was looking for Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3. First round finish. Dustin Poirier takes the victory. Tanner, before we get to it, Tanner in that chat, Carlos, do you have a spare set of ankles in that filing cabinet for Mr. McGregor? Let's get to it. So basically, in the pre-fight, Conor has been very, very aggressive with his attitude towards Dustin, but he did comment about how going for the tap outs and going for the leg kicks is pussy moves. What did Conor do mainly in this fight? He threw lots and lots of leg kicks. And then when Poirier kind of like fought his way through and was landing good clean shots and then got the takedown, Conor went for the subs. He actually went for the guillotine a couple of times, but he just wasn't able to get that guillotine cinched in enough. And then every time that Poirier broke away, he was landing huge, huge shots. I've got to give props to McGregor as well. Those elbows from the bottom looked absolutely vicious. But that just seemed to wind Poirier up a little bit more. Pushes up and elbows elbows McGregor's face into the floor. McGregor was cut. There's one where I think he's cut like literally the inside of his ear off. Landing up kicks when Poirier was trying to kind of like break away, maybe land some bigger shots. Poirier went back in, landed more elbows. This was just a beat down on Conor McGregor for some periods, but I've got to give it to him. He didn't sit back and give up. He did try and still get the guillotine. He did try and get the headlocks. I've seen talk of it being a 10-8 round. I don't believe it was a 10-8 round. I think Conor did. plenty of good work on his own. Those leg kicks at the beginning were brutal. But it does finally get to the ground with about 30, 40 seconds to go. And both guys go to land shots. Conor gets his foot in a little bit wrong. He ends up actually in the replay snapping his fibula and tibia just above the ankle. We all thought, because we were watching live, we thought it was he got dropped by a Poirier shot, but in the slow-mo it shows that both shots missed. But when Conor goes down, Poirier does come and land some big shots. We were all thinking Herb Dean's going to do a Herb Dean here and stop this fight, but it does end up going to the end of the round. Obviously, with a broken leg / ankle, the fight can't continue, and Dustin Poirier gets the TKO via leg injury. Conor was massively arguing for it to be a doctor stoppage, and Conor is just so frustrating because he's been in the last few fights. Well, the last fight certainly, the fight against Donald Cerrone, he was humble. He was calm. He was collected. In this fight, he threatened to beat. He threatened to beat Dustin Poirier up outside the stadium. This is how bad it is.
That if he was saying that stuff to me, and if he said that about my wife, broken ankle or not, I would have ran over to the motherfucker, stamped on the ankle, and then stamped on the other fucking ankle, just to fucking shut him. Just his comments afterwards, the Poirier's comments. Now, McGregor, I absolutely love him, like his personality-wise, like with some of the stuff he does in his fighting. Like you said, you got to give it to him. He was fighting his heart out. Dustin's clearly the better fighter. And when it came to shit like that, like there's trash talking, there's promoting the fight, there's all well and truly good, but fuck me. Like I'm sure the cameras had to come off him. I'm sure they were calling Jolene a whore and shit like that. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, if I were in his position, he said that about my wife, my foot would be getting drilled through your fucking face. It wouldn't. I wouldn't be caring if them security guys all I ain't no champion. I've just made my money off beating your ass twice. You know what I mean? Like the best part of being my head is I'd be running my foot through your fucking head whilst you're on the canvas.
Matt Willis in the chat, what is your opinion of Poirier calling McGregor a dirtbag post fight? He wasn't, to be fair.
Remember, he was pulling down on his gloves to kick someone in the face. If I was in sparring and someone did that to me, well, it'd be a real fight. But then if I were in a real fight and the referee didn't do it, then if the referee tried to stop the fight, that fight would continue. It wouldn't be going to a break. It'd be that fight just be stopped continuously. I wouldn't stop fighting. It'd be like, you want to be a dirty cunt? We'll just have a proper fight. No rules in a fight like that. And that's like Khabib said when McGregor were doing stuff in their fight what were a bit dirty. He just punched him in the face and made him pay for it a little bit more. That's what Dustin sort of did. He just broke his ankle this time.
So the question coming out of this, obviously we haven't had a chance to watch the post fight yet, and I can't wait to watch it. The question is this it for Conor?
I don't think it is. Like, well, I know with the ankle and that lot, and now where he's broke as well, the tibia, like if the easiest way of showing probably will be wrist. As we can see the wrist moving back and forth, that's somewhat like the foot is. And where is he sort of snapped? To me, it doesn't look like it's actually the bone. What it looks like the joint of the actual where the foot and the actual tibia and fibia actually meet, and that looks like what's come apart. Because when his foot's there, it's just wobbling at that bit. Yeah. And the reason it looks like it's further up, because your ankle only stops far down, then it goes a little bit further up before it connects on. Nothing really looks broke because he would have been in a lot more pain than he were in. But he were only like shouting. So I don't think he's broke both of the bones. Like they put it in like a stilp straight away. But again, I don't think it's massively damaged. And with the money he's got, he's recovering that lot. And if he needs to go through surgery, it's going to cost him nothing. Especially if he comes back home. We've got NHS, so we don't have to pay for no medical bills.
So Dana has said that he feels bad for Dustin because after that dominant first round, all the talk of the fight is that it was the doctor stoppage that finished the fight. He says that Dustin gets the shot against Charles Oliveira, but when Conor is fit, we get McGregor versus Poirier 4. And also Habib tweeted, "Good always defeats evil."
It's true. At the end of the day, it's true. Like I said, McGregor is a good guy. He He can sell snow to a fucking Eskimo. He packed that arena out just from talking shit. And good on him. He just made money. And Dustin Poirier, he didn't give a shit because he knew he just made bang. Dustin Poirier started giving a shit after the fight when he carried it on, calling his wife and stuff like that. What McGregor should have done is just been the good old McGregor. You can still be a twat, but why weren't you humble then? Why was he not just humble, a bit respectful, going, right, fair enough, I broke my fucking ankle. You didn't beat me, I broke my ankle. We'll do it again. He didn't have to like call his wife a whore and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, you can just, his personality came out at the end of that fight. And he's going to, definitely in this day and age, he's going to get a lot more fans for it because people are pricks. But he's one of them. He's just the way it is. Yeah. He's going to get a hell of a lot more fans. He's going to get a lot more publicity. Fuck me, you've got that knobhead, Stephen, whatever he's called. That guy had no reason to be near an MMA fucking event. And you've got him just because McGregor's fighting. McGregor brings eyes to the sport. He brings people speaking about it. And win, lose, or draw, he will still be, at the end of the day, the biggest draw in mixed martial arts.
Absolutely.
That's why I say this is not an end to his career, because it doesn't matter what this guy does. Like I said to you earlier, he can have 8 losses in a row. Dana White will still put him. He won't treat him like he would with BJ Penn and stuff like that, because again, Conor McGregor is still a draw.
Yep.
He can bring people just from acting the way you were. Oh, I'm gonna sleep the little rat. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Nothing really looked different in the fight that he was doing. Fair enough, he cracked Poirier a little bit cleaner with that left hand, but like Poirier said, stung him a bit, didn't do nothing to him. So again, like I explained to you, in the heavier divisions, when Poirier's allowed to rehydrate, you can absorb this punishment. You've got to be more on point to hurt him. And then once McGregor, we all know McGregor's fucking not famous for his cardio, and he got took down in the first round. Guarantee, the second round he would have got took down. And then if he didn't get finished, it would have got probably finished with a submission.
Yep. So that, guys, is UFC 264 in the books. It's also the debut of 5 rounds on Radio Tekkers in the books. We appreciate everybody who has watched along, or if you are listening on audio, we appreciate you as well. We will be back next week with UFC Fight Night Makhachev versus Moises, which has the return of Miesha Tate, and then the fighter that all the lightweights are scared of, Islam Makhachev, taking on Thiago Moises. So yeah, tune into Radio Tekkers for that one. And if you are listening on audio, you can find this on the Radio Tekkers podcast feed, or still on Visionaries Global Media, or still on the Chair Shot. Just before we go, I want to give a lot of shout out to the guys over at Shooting the Sports Dish. They supported us all the way through this in 5 rounds, and Radio Tekkers leaves there with absolutely no animosity. Still lots of love for our guys over there. But thank you for starting this journey with us at Radio Tekkers. We hope to bring you plenty of quality content of the next few weeks and years, and keep your eyes out for more from 5 rounds, more from Radio Tekkers, more from the team involved. We're going to be working hard to bring you the very, very best in content. But that is all from me. Carlos, want to say goodbye?
I do indeed. Before I do say goodbye, obviously, like you say, I want to say the thank yous to the networks that we've been on, the Shooting Sports. It's really done it as well. We are now, like I just said, Radio Tekkers. That's a new network. Go subscribe on the YouTube channel. The 5 rounds Facebook page is now sort of turned into the network for the Radio Tekkers. So go and follow, like, share that as well, because all the content,
the Twitch.
And the Twitch, because all the content will be going on there as well when it goes live. So not just the 5 rounds, so you can get all your juicy sports and needs from anywhere from mixed martial arts to wrestling to even F1 racing and more along the way. So keep following us. And just before again I do say goodbye, I'd like to give a good shout out to a couple of people who's agreed to sort of help us out and try and get us out a lot more and help us by sponsoring us with the show. I'd like to shout out Project North, who's a company in the northwest of England. They're doing a really, really, really good project that I am fully behind. There's a lad called Aidan Project North is his own company. I'll put a lot more of a story on the thing. I can't wait to tell it. It's a brilliant story. I'm just working everything out with him. But just give you a little bit of backstory. He helped me so much with when we had a little family issue. So this is just something for him to get back out. So it's a clothing network for fashionable clothes. So please go and check him out on Facebook and Instagram, Project North. And then I'd like to give also another shout out to Blackout Graphics in Burnley, who's done me personally for my little daughter a gi with our Black Knights logo on it. So that's perfect. So if you've got anything that you need, any graphic design work, any print work, posters, anything like that, again, Facebook, Instagram, get in touch with them, go give them a follow. Go give us a follow on Instagram, get us up there, and we are out. Adios amigos. Enjoy the first episode.